Welcome to News Laundry Chhota Hafta. For the full episode, subscribe because it is behind the paywall and only subscribers get access to uncut, complete content. News Laundry Hafta is our weekly wrap of all that made the news, all that didn't, and all that should have and all that shouldn't have. We agree, we disagree, we critique, and occasionally we beat each other up. But it's all good fun. Subscribe.
This is a News Laundry podcast and you're listening to NL Hafta.
अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. We're back with episode 386 of Hafta. I'm Abhinandan Sekhri. Joining me in the studio today is Anand Vardhan. Hi Anand.
Hello.
Mehraj Lone. Hi Mehraj.
Hello.
Manisha Pande.
Hello.
And Sudhir Suryawanshi will be joining us on the phone from Maharashtra. Sudhir is a journalist. He's been writing on politics of Maharashtra, the state, for the last decade and a half. He's worked at DNA, Mumbai Mirror, Free Press Journal, and he's presently the assistant editor at the New Indian Express. He's also written the book Checkmate, How the BJP Won and Lost Maharashtra. And he has been on the Hafta before, you might recall. So he'll be telling us about all the exciting developments in Maharashtra which are unfolding even as we record this on the 23rd of June, Thursday at 3:20 p.m. Before we get into the rest of the announcements, Manisha shall give us the headlines. Thank you, Manisha.
Yes. Shiv Sena's number 2 man, Eknath Shinde, has destabilized the Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi government. He may soon become number 1. There's a show of strength happening as we speak. 40 MLAs or more have been paraded at Radisson Blu in Guwahati. They were moved to Surat from Mumbai and then flown to Guwahati with the Gujarat police escorting them. Those were some dramatic visuals that NDTV had. Shiv Sena rebels have written to the governor declaring that Eknath Shinde will be their leader. Meanwhile, Uddhav Thackeray has stated that he will submit his resignation letter if they ask for it. They meaning the Shiv Sainiks.
But face to face.
Yeah. Himmat hai to samne aake
I was going to
bolo.
say the same thing.
And he's also said that Hindutva is not about wearing a saffron cap. It's about what's in your mind. Assam CM Himanta Biswa Sarma, who was welcoming these MLAs in Guwahati, meanwhile has said that he's very happy to have them. And he's happy that Guwahati becomes the international political epicenter and that we welcome all tourists to visit Assam as we need funds to deal with floods.
In related news.
Yeah. In case you guys don't know, there have been devastating floods in the northeast and Assam has had a death toll of about 80 people as of today, last I checked.
In fact, much of Silchar is underwater apparently.
Yeah, some very, very disturbing, dramatic visuals coming from there too. But Guwahati has made news mostly for hosting Shiv Sainiks and not the floods. Upset that the State Home Ministry and Intelligence Department did not alert the MVA leadership about rebel Shiv Sena MLAs, the NCP chief Sharad Pawar is said to have conveyed his serious displeasure to the Home Minister Dilip Patil, he's from NCP, and State Party Chief Jayant Patil. In related news, what was seen as a trigger for the above events was a win for the BJP in Maharashtra Legislative Council polls. 2 candidates, each of the ruling coalition allies, NCP and the Shiv Sena, and 4 nominees of the opposition BJP won. Meanwhile, the Agnipath protests have sort of disappeared from the news cycle. The army on Monday issued a notification for induction of soldiers under the Agnipath military recruitment scheme, which will commence from July. It was also stated that those who participate in the protests or have FIRs against them may be disqualified from giving the exams. Over 600 trains were cancelled on Monday, with operations again disrupted by protests against the Agnipath defence recruitment scheme. Meanwhile, several industry captains and chief ministers, including the Haryana CM, guaranteed employment to Agniveers after their 4-year stint in the armed forces.
In fact, let's just count off who all guaranteed that. The UP Chief Minister, the MP Chief Minister,
Haryana CM,
Anand Mahindra, someone from the Tata Sons as well.
I think Biocon also. Kiran Mazumdar
Yes,
also said?
correct.
Yeah.
Biocon also. Yeah. And then I think, was it Admiral, I don't want to take a name lest I get it wrong, said that if you do have these positions, there are a lot of already ex-servicemen who are looking for jobs who can't make. Why don't you offer it to them? You don't wait for the Agnipath scheme. So, yeah.
Like farm laws, the centre will have to withdraw Agnipath 2. That's Rahul Gandhi. Speaking of Rahul Gandhi, the ED questioned him for 50 hours over 5 days. Congress President Sonia Gandhi has now sought to delay her appearance before the ED because of health issues.
Because she's also been asked
She's
to
been
come.
diagnosed with COVID and then she's had some complications and she was admitted in the hospital.
I think 50 hours over 5 days, that's 10 hours a day. I think this is the longest Rahul has ever quote-unquote worked.
And there were lots of murmurs of his arrest.
I'm just saying, I don't think he's done a 10-hour day in his life. I don't mean to make fun when it's... But anyway, that's...
It's called
But no,
punching
there's
down.
a lot of...
That's punching down, yeah, that's
this
punching.
thing of I'm not really punching
Well,
down.
I mean, I don't know, till
That was a
Kind of,
joke.
yeah.
till 10 years ago, his government almost shut down News Laundry. So, I don't know if it's punching down.
But yeah, some serious rumors about him getting arrested also, which were just rumors, I guess. Draupadi Murmu will be the first tribal woman picked as BJP's led NDA's candidate for presidential elections. I think we can say she's going to be president. It's near certain.
Yeah, exactly.
And former Union Minister and Trinamool Congress leader Yashwant Sinha was named as the common candidate of the opposition, even though it was only TMC that made a lot of noise about him.
Yeah.
There wasn't really like an opposition unity as such.
TMC makes a lot of noise generally.
Yeah.
But I wonder what Yashwant Sinha's deal is in this, because I mean he should know
Ideally,
that he
should
won't
just
win,
say
right?
back out. And
I
say
think
no.
Yashwant Sinha just wants attention. I mean, I think the anti-BJP kind of block of people, suddenly he is their favorite, as is Arun Shourie. But what new insight, value does he add to any conversation? I mean, I've interviewed him once as well because of his book. And I mean, it's an interesting book. I mean, one does see that, that his entire studying at IS, there's some very interesting, honest kind of tips. But I mean, they parade him out each time they want someone to trash Modi. But what value really, and even if he's the presidential candidate, you don't say stuff like she's a rubber stamp or whatever he said about her. Yeah, as a president, you have to, you are a rubber stamp. If you aren't, then maybe IS mein aapko padhaya nahi theek tarah. Secondly, you're supposed to be kam bolo,
Yeah.
or don't make political comments. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. Did you read this in your piece, Anand, or did I read it somewhere else? That the role of the president anyway cannot be so adversarial to the prime minister. Like the choice of this guy as from the opposition is also a bit.
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
not supposed to be this sort of confrontational. So
36
it's a
ka
weird
ankda
choice
nahi hona
anyway.
chahiye.
Because even when the BJP is recommended while being in opposition, it's never a figure which is hated or has said so many things about Modi. Ongoing by-polls across 6 states will be held today. Some crucial seats are in play. It's Azamgarh and Rampur in Uttar Pradesh, Mandar in Jharkhand, Agartala in Tripura, Bardwoli, Surma and Jubbaranjnagar also. In Delhi, it's Rajendra Nagar. In Punjab, it's Sangrur. And Andhra Pradesh, you have the Atmakuru Assembly constituency. In the biggest ever loan fraud case in India, the CBI has booked former promoters of Diwan Housing Finance Limited, Kapil Wadhwan and Dheeraj Wadhwan. These guys are among 13 accused for defrauding a consortium of 17 banks for over rupees 34,000 crore.
Many of you may remember DHFL scam was in the news for a long time, about a year or two ago.
The Kerala High Court on Monday granted bail to a key accused in the 2017 actress assault case in which actor Dileep is also an accused. The court granted relief to 4th accused Vijesh, who was allegedly involved in the crime. Swapna Suresh, the prime accused in the Kerala gold smuggling case, wrote a letter to Prime Minister Narendra Modi seeking a CBI inquiry over the role of key functionaries in the state government in the sensational crime. Meanwhile, the NCB, the Narcotics Control Bureau, has filed draft charges against actor Riya Chakravarti, her brother Shauvik, and others before a special court in connection with a drug case linked to the Bollywood actor Sushant Singh Rajput's death. As I noted earlier, the death toll in Assam has reached 82 on Monday after 11 more residents died in the state. In one of the country's deadliest earthquakes in decades, a powerful earthquake struck a rural mountainous region of eastern Afghanistan. About 1,000 people have died and 1,500 have been injured. And officials have warned that the toll may rise.
Also, I don't know if anyone has been watching the American channels or the podcasts. The most compelling reality show is playing out with the January 6th insurrection, कहते हैं, Capitol riot hearings.
Yeah.
And some of the most bizarre and shocking, testimonies of facts coming out of just how insane Trump is. So I think it's a good learning of how institutions can actually prevent one madman from completely overrunning a system. So that's also quite interesting. If we have the time, we might talk about it at some point. As presidential candidates go, I think fantastic choice. It's going to be very hard for any political party, especially the allies on the fence like the Odisha Chief Minister, to say no, because
he won't.
So he's already endorsed it, and he's had, I hope everybody else endorsed it as well. But I'm just a little blown away by the choice of Yashwant Sinha. Like I said, I think he's a decent guy. He's, out of all the people I've interviewed in the last 20-25 years that I've been in the media space, he would definitely rank among the top 5 most regular blokes. When you're talking to him, he doesn't come across as too pompous. At the same time, Amitabh Bachchan's false humility, it's not actual humility. So he's like a regular dude who you can, but he's all the time going on trashing Modi. Why would you? I mean, I really don't understand unless you want to pick a fight. It's the worst. I mean,
It's also a legacy when you're leaving behind a huge legacy. But also, I think Anand would know this better. There's this sort of a theory. I don't know, it's a theory. It's maybe like based on fact that the Indian constitution, if the president wants, within the constitutional limits, he can practically become a dictator.
I see.
Because the constitution does give him
allow
that broad powers. That's, I think,
Kind
why
of like
Anand
the
was
governor
saying,
also, no? But there has to be a state of like
Emergency.
Yeah.
or something.
I would not say dictator, but before the 42nd Amendment of 1976, there were chances of him being a very activist president. And Dr. Prasad, the first president, because of his stature and also because of his intricate knowledge of the constitution, did have occasions when he was activist. Anyway, coming to the present choice, I think 4-5 factors, some of which have been discussed. One is, of course, the symbolism of the tribal president, women also, reaching out to the East India, division of BJP. Also, one of the lesser told stories of BJP's social outreach has been the work of Akhil Bharatiya Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, and it wants also something in return, something which reinforces the kind of work they put in the tribal belt
And that wing basically does an outreach to tribal areas.
Yes,
Yeah.
for political concept, which means prepares the ground for the BJP's political consolidation in tribal belt.
A lot through social work like schools and all.
Yeah, that began in 1952. It's a Sangh Parivar affiliate, that Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, and it began as a counter to what they thought as a threat of Christian missionary activities, and they are just a counter model of it. Same model, welfare activities, mobilization. Perhaps more aggressive in political mobilization, but welfare activities, schools, hospitals.
Similar.
So they also want some kind of claim on some high office like that of president.
2019 study showed that 44% Adivasis voted for BJP in 2019 Lok Sabha elections. So it's not like,
even back,
while it's a great narrative and like he said, like an ideological sort of narrative, but they don't need to like do much to woo them anyway.
back in the day, if I'm not wrong, this Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, they were like accused of mobilizing the Adivasis of Gujarat for the anti-Muslim program.
Yeah.
In
no,
so
in
they have
fact, there
been
was
involved this for
Other affiliates have also got into trouble, like in Odisha.
The Kandhamar
and,
riots.
The
Yeah.
violent clashes with Christian missionaries. Because even Bajrang Dal, when it is a time of violent confrontation, other forces also join them, like Bajrang Dal and this. In normal times, they may be a welfare organization, but when the question of the swell of man force comes, then other affiliates with far more aggressive approach like Bajrang Dal comes.
I think just so beyond the practical implications of this and the practical reasonings, I was thinking this appointment also kind of shows the limits of identity politics.
in the sense.
In the sense that just having, like, say, representation is not enough. To what end, though?
Of course.
If it's a woman Adivasi president, that's great, but to what end?
I think 2019 drama had also a lot of twist and turn. But this drama, Shinde drama, has also a lot of twist and turn. But there is also suspect that twist and turn has written by somebody else who plays very important role in Shiv Sena itself.
I see.
So thing is that there are, the way Eknath Shinde, you ask anybody in Maharashtra whether he has got such a, weight or such a cloud to poach 34 or 37 or 40 MLAs from his party and independent. Anybody will not believe at all. Shinde can get such a number of people with him, MLA, that to MLA. Nobody will believe. Shinde is looking more powerful than the Ajit Pawar and anybody else.
So
like a
clearly you're
God.
saying it's not his power. It's kahin aur ka power hai nikal.
Power, yeah.
पर वो पावर
That's
शिवसेना
what-
का ही मेंबर का है या शिवसेना के बाहर के किसी
So
का है?
game within game.
Game. Story within the story.
Ah. Plot thickens. This is very interesting, Sudhir. I see. So it's possible that in the end it may be a surprise like it was last time. or something else emerging altogether.
If you read the MLAs who are with initially, now everybody is with him now. Initially, the MLAs who were with him, like Pratap Sarnai, he is like a Chaddi Batti gang of the Shiv Sena and Uddhav Thackeray. Then there is a Yashwant Jadhav, whose wife Yamini Jadhav is a MLA Shiv Sena. Yashwant Jadhav is the person who is the ex-standing committee chairman, BMC standing committee chairman, that has more than 40,000 crore budget. And BMC standing committee chairman it means that he is a family member of Thackeray family. It's like that. So if the person is a really family member of the Thackeray family, do you believe that person will revolt against the Thackeray and join the Eknath Shinde? So they blame the Kotri, not the Uddhav Thackeray. They didn't made any allegation against the Uddhav Thackeray. They didn't make anything against the Uddhav Thackeray. Eknath Shinde, neither Uddhav Thackeray made statement against each other. If you see so far, the same Kotri, Eknath Shinde rebel blaming, that same Kotri has helped them to get the MLAs. As per my knowledge, there are many MLAs because they are very gullible. They don't know, what is inside happening. They generally calls to the Kotri PAs and all these things. So, what we should do now. Things are going like that because some people are not always all part of the secret plans. Some people are
they are being heralded here and there by a larger game that is being played within. Sudhir, I have seen all sorts of hot takes on panels on the last few days.
Is that news?
No, but no one has. See, I have
this
heard.
One is too imaginative.
This is very interesting, and because I have seen.
See, I'm not putting out imaginations. I'm just joining the dots.
Correct, absolutely.
That is our job.
Beyond this whole business of what they're doing and what they're not doing and all that, I think the larger point is that what this really does is, if you see this again and again and again, and this has happened like in state after state after state, is it reduces the whole idea of electoral democracy to a joke. Because the ideal of democracy is the ideal of representation. So the idea is that you go to a group of your fellow citizens, tell them I'm going to represent you, right? And you give them reasons to appoint you. Some of those reasons are explicit. I'll give you better wages, civic facilities, this. Some are implied. Implied in the sense, what is your personal politics? You don't have to spell that out. They know. What is your party platform? They know that. If they do all that, you give them these promises, they elect you as their representative, then you go to an assembly or a parliament, but then you switch sides, right? You abandon your platform and go to some other platform. Maybe it's out of genuine conviction. Fair enough. You think that your constituents will be better represented if you go to some other party. That's all fine. But the thing is, the idea of in an ideal democracy, not even an ideal democracy, in a functioning democracy, that decision shouldn't be your alone. Because you are representing a group of people, right? So if you have to make that decision, you think that your constituents need different representation through you at a different party. What you should be doing is basically this is to say that an elected official who wants to switch sides should automatically lose their seat and go back to the electorate for re-election. Otherwise, the whole idea of that, if these many people defect, they merge with this party, and then that encourages all of this.
That really obnoxious gentleman from the BJP who said that I will put guards here, we will need guards, I will prefer people Agniveers who are guards. Vijay Varghese, what's his name?
Kailash Vijayvargiya said this. I don't think he said. Did he say it?
Yeah, he said it.
Yeah. We'll use them as security guards of BJP offices.
I don't know some BJP guy also said barbers, I don't know what he said. And of course everyone said, is that why they join the army so that they can become guards? Yeah, that's not why they join the army. First of all, no one would join the army. No one wants to die for the shit reasons that many soldiers do. And they are shit reasons at the end of the day. And sometimes you're asked to do horrible things to your own countrymen. But it's never discussed honestly, because a politician can't say this. News panelists and news studios have become politicians. I mean, forget everything else here. Back when I used to run a production house and all our money used to come from evil multinationals, which is why I have this pure model today. We had done a documentary film for Mr. Ambani's company called Reliance at Jamnagar. I mean, the cliche is true. The Jamnagar refinery's security head was a former army officer, yeah. I mean, I remember he was telling us to go in, go out. All the guys had hired were former Fajis, Subedars, some junior commissioned officers type. Anyway,
but it's way more respectable to do that than BJP ka office, huh? Because you're also paid well. It's like a great corporation job.
There were many such comments. Is this the job they wanted? First of all, these industry captains are complete buffoons, yeah. If you have jobs, give them, because even right now, people who have retired are having such a problem getting employed. So if you have all these jobs, why don't you give it?
People have to be very, very cautious about how they speak. Like Mr. Vijay Varghese statement means it's just a manner of speaking. I think Sanjay Raut's statement, let them come to Maharashtra. Maybe it's not a threat. He is trying to say something different. My reading is he was trying to say that it's a valuable human resource. And he also said that aap bhi rakhenge. Means if you have a security concern, you will also employ him. But he's a politician. Maybe he should be more cautious with his words than me and you. Second is, I think it's all correct that it has nothing, for most, it has nothing to do with a career in armed services, but a lot to do with a career in government. Because that comes with a stability, and there are neat certitudes of a government job, and that's the big draw for a job, for an armed a career in soldiering is same, is like any other job. Means relatively prosperous families I see in Bihar. Means prosperous in the sense they have land and they send their sons to BSF, army, this, because after all this agricultural income, they want a certain degree of certainty. And also, it may not be imaginable here, but it also has a ring of social status.
Because again, it's about stability, obviously. I mean, if the livelihoods are so precarious, especially what's happened over the last, especially in like say Haryana or northern India, Punjab, that income from agriculture, it's also become precarious. You could depend on, entire families could depend on land. Now it's becoming harder and harder. So you have to find other sources of income, and the most secure source of income is a government job.
I think it must be stated because we are media crit. And media crit has to comment on media, and because I don't want to make the full hafta about what happened in the media, just the kind of, I mean, partisan coverage is fine. It's a normal thing. I don't think it is new. I think there's a level of which partisan becomes cheerleading, but fine. That's a given. But to blatantly lie is just, I was at a hospital in Haryana because of a illness of a family member, and there I was watching TV. So it was, the whatever army, these things, Delhi, Gurgaon, jam, causing jams, Aam Aadmi to pay the price. What if someone is caught in it? They were like making it as if it's like such a big deal that there's jam. I was watching that live. I got into the car and came to Delhi. There was not more than a 3-minute extra waiting at that border. And that also not because there were any protesters there.
Police
About
barricading.
10 cops had put 2 barricades and were sitting and scratching their crotches. And I was like, and they had put one camera which was just showing like 4 or 5 cars piled up. There was no jam. And they were just showing that live. It's just gone to the level, but then again, the kind of thing that they did with JNU's slogans. And there's no accountability to that. All of you listening in, the Chhota Hafta, do subscribe so you can listen to the entire Hafta. We will see you again next week with the Hafta. Till then, subscribe, pay to keep news free, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Thank you. Goodbye.
All the News Laundry podcasts are available on Stitcher, iTunes, and any other podcast platform.
Please subscribe to News Laundry. Help us keep news independent. To catch all our podcasts on news, pop culture, current affairs and sport, visit newslaundry.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Sun liya Afrika, mufat khoro. Not to brag or anything, but News Laundry Hafta features in the top 50 in the world on SoundCloud in the news and politics category for podcasts. So do subscribe and see what you're missing, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Subscribe, help keep news independent and free. All News Laundry podcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher and any other podcast platform.